In the gentle embrace of a land where olive trees stretched their silvery limbs towards the sky, and the warm sun lingered long into the fading day, there lived a queen whose name echoed softly through the rolling hills and quiet valleys of ancient Greece, Niobe. Her palace sat perched atop a hill surrounded by laurel groves and fragrant cypresses, overlooking a world where the whispers of myths were born. It was a kingdom kissed by the calm breath of the sea and cradled by the ancient earth that held stories older than time itself. As twilight would settle, painting the sky in hues of lavender and rose, the world seemed to hush, inviting the soft walding of tales rooted in wonder and sorrow alike. Niobe was a woman of profound beauty and grace, her presence as serene and commanding as the moon's glow on a still night. She was the daughter of Tantalus, a man known in fleeting shadows, and she had married Amphion, the king of Thebes, a man whose music on the lyre could charm stones into gentle dance. Their love was quiet, yet strong, built on the gentle harmonies that flowed from Amphion's strings and the steady warmth of Niobe's heart. In those early days, their reign was marked by peace and prosperity. The people of Thebes lived under a sky that stretched wide and untroubled, their lives woven together by the steady pulse of the earth and the soft murmur of rivers that mirrored the stars. Niobe's days were filled with the laughter of her children, a blessing that seemed to cradle her very being. She bore many sons and daughters, each one a tender thread in the tapestry of her life. Their voices, light and pure, would echo within the grand halls and gardens, filling the air with a symphony of joy. The gentle patter of little feet mingled with the murmur of the wind, and in those moments the world felt endlessly kind and forgiving, wrapped in the soft cocoon of family and love. Thebes itself was a city alive with history, where every stone seemed to hum with the footsteps of heroes and gods who had once walked its streets. The walls, strong and eternal, stood as silent witnesses to the rise and fall of many tales, their shadows dancing in the warmth of the setting sun. Within these walls, at times when the day grew still and the air thickened with the scent of blooming jasmine and ripened figs, Niobe often found herself gazing out beyond her realm. Her thoughts drifted to stories of immortal beings, of Olympus, where the gods wove the threads of destiny with an indifferent hand. It was a world apart from her own, a place sparkling with divine light and mystery, where the great gods dwelt in palaces of cloud and gold. Among them were Leto, gentle and resolute, whose serenity could quell the fiercest storms, and her children Apollo, the archer, whose arrows found the truth, and Artemis, the huntress who roamed the forests with a steadfast and watchful spirit. These gods, with their might and majesty, were unaware of the quiet queen in her earthly castle. Yet the fates had begun to stir, threading her story ever closer to theirs. Niobe's pride grew softly at first, like a budding flower in the warmth of spring, nourished by the boundless affection she held for her children and the joy that radiated from their presence. She was proud of the legacy she was creating, a mother whose fruitfulness seemed unmatched. It was a quiet pride, almost invisible in its gentleness, but it took root and spread in the secret chambers of her heart. Though she carried herself with humility in public, within the sanctuary of her home, she allowed herself to dream more boldly, to imagine a glory that outshone even the stars. Amphion, with his deep, steady gaze and calm demeanor, noticed this unfolding change within her, but met it with a quiet understanding. His music, which had always soothed her soul, continued to weave its gentle magic around their lives, binding their hearts in a harmonious balance. The nights in Thebes were soft and still, filled with a warm silence that wrapped the city like a comforting cloak. The stars blinked down in steady rhythms, bearing witness to the tender moments shared beneath their light. In those soft hours, Niobe's thoughts often returned to the divine, and a faint shimmer of boldness stirred within her. For all their blessings, she began to question the balance of favor, wondering aloud if perhaps a mortal mother might ever evoke the same reverence as the goddesses whose stories were sung across Olympus. She spoke quietly of her children, her voice barely more than a whisper in the cool night air, and in that whisper lay a yearning that was sweet, yet tinged with a hint of something more, a pride not yet fully realized, but growing nonetheless. The wind carried her words across the gardens and beyond, mingling with the softly rustling leaves and the distant song of nightingales. The world seemed to hold its breath as if waiting for the next note in this unfolding melody of fate. Here, in the tranquil hush of night, Niobe's journey was poised delicately at the threshold between human warmth and divine reckoning, a silent breath before the story's quiet bloom into its fullness. So, beneath the vast and ancient skies of Greece, where myths breathed slowly and meaning lingered like the sweet scent of blossoming flowers, the tale of Niobe began, a story of love, of joy, and of a pride that would one day echo through eternity. As the warm hues of dawn faded into the gentle light of morning, Thebes awoke under a sky brushed with soft pastels, mirroring the peaceful rhythm of a world untouched by sorrow. Niobe, queen and mother, moved through her palace with a serene grace, the golden threads of sunlight catching in her hair like whispers of the gods themselves. Her children, many, lively and vibrant, filled the halls with laughter and the tender noise of youth, a testament to her abundant blessings. Each child was a living story, a conjured echo of love and life that stirred a quiet pride deep within her heart. Yet within this pride grew a fragile seed, a slow, creeping vine that set its roots quietly, unseen beneath the surface calm. In the sheltered courtyard, beneath the sprawling branches of an ancient olive tree, the silent witness to countless seasons, Niobe found herself caught in the soft weave of a thought that fluttered uncertainly like a moth near a warm flame. She found herself dwelling not only on the joy her children brought, but also on the whispers that had begun to reach her ears, carried on the wind from distant lands and the hallowed halls of Olympus. Tales spoke of gods and goddesses, of mortals who dared to touch the divine, and of the delicate balance that must be kept. But Niobe, basking in the glow of her lineage and the abundance of her family, felt a stirring of defiant confidence. What harm could come, she pondered, from simply acknowledging the greatness she bore within her own blood? So, as the day stretched languidly onward, she invited guests from neighbouring kingdoms to her palace, the grand halls ringing with the clinking of cups and murmurs of admiration. Amid the fragrant scent of blooming laurel and fresh-cut honeycomb, she spoke softly, but with unwavering certainty of the blessings bestowed upon her, that she was richer than any other queen, for she had given life to more children than even Leto, the goddess of motherhood herself. The courtiers exchanged uneasy glances, sensing the fragile tension beneath her words, the slight sharpness in her tone that brushed against reverence like a sudden chill. For Niobe's praise was no longer a gentle, grateful song, but an anthem of pride, loud enough to stir ripples in the placid lake of destiny. High above, in the vaulted skies where Olympus loomed like an ancient fortress carved from clouds and dreams, the gods heard these declarations. In the shimmering halls where Artemis, sister of Apollo, moved gracefully as a huntress between rays of divine light, the boast of a mortal woman kindled a quiet fire of ire and sadness. For Niobe's words, though born of love, carried a weight that tilted the balance between mortals and gods. Artemis and Apollo, children of Leto, whose temples stood serene and sacred, took the queen's pride as a personal affront, a sharp arrow thrown at the very essence of their mother's sacredness. As twilight fell upon Thebes, the city resting beneath a velvet sky embroidered with stars, a stillness grew heavy, like the breath before a storm. Niobe, lulled by the day's fading glow, watched her children play in the courtyard, their shadows long and weaving like threads of gold and evening blue. But behind the tender smiles, a quiet unease wrapped around the edges of her heart, a whisper of warning carried on the chill of the night air. The gods were watching, their patience threadbare as the moon sailed high in her silvery arc, and the cost of pride unseen in the daylight began to weave its inevitable course across the fragile fabric of Niobe's world. Her dreams that night were filled with shifting shadows, the faces of her children merging into flickers of flame and whispers of wind, as if the very essence of life and loss danced just beyond her reach. It was a dream both beautiful and terrible, a silent herald of the trials yet to come. And so, as deep slumber enfolded the sleeping city, the threads of fate tightened silently, weaving a tapestry that would hold Niobe in its somber embrace, a reminder that even the brightest light must someday bow to the gods' eternal will. As the quiet dusk settled softly over the ancient city of Thebes, a stillness deep and heavy lay thick in the air. Niobe, the proud queen, stood amidst the gardens of her grand palace, her heart swelling with the many joys of her children, whose laughter once filled her halls like the gentle song of a summer brook. But now a shadow crept slowly over that joy, like the fading light at the edge of a long day. Far away, on the high peaks of Mount Olympus, darkened clouds gathered, and whispers of displeasure passed between the gods, and the sacred balance of honor and humility began to tip. Niobe's boast, proud and unguarded, had reached the ears of Leto, the gentle mother of Apollo and Artemis. The words, carried like autumn leaves in the southern wind, brushed softly across the hearts of her divine children. Yet their sorrow was quiet and resolute, not born of cruelty, but of duty. For pride, when it blooms unchecked and tall, may cast a long shadow over even the brightest lives, and the delicate order between mortals and gods must be preserved. In the stillness of the evening, Apollo, with his golden bow, and Artemis, cloaked in twilight's silver, descended silently upon the city's walls. Their steps were as soft as falling snow, their intentions clear, yet sorrowful. One by one the children of Niobe fell, and with each loss the queen's heart unravelled, the weight of grief settling into her very bones. The gardens, once vibrant and filled with life, seemed to grow quieter, the air growing cooler as shadows lengthened. Niobe's eyes, once bright with insolent pride, now shimmered with tears, reflecting the stars beginning to pierce the timid veil of night. Yet, even in this moment of profound sorrow, Niobe's story did not end with despair alone. From her deep mourning, a gentle transformation took root, one not of anger or bitterness, but of understanding and humility. Niobe, bending beneath the weight of what had passed, came to see the fragile beauty of balance, the kindness hidden behind justice, and the quiet power of acceptance. Her tears, endless and soft, became the source of a gentle spring that would flow through the ages, a living memory of lessons learned and of a mother's love enduring beyond the trials of pride and punishment. The gods too retreated silently back to their sky-high home, their hearts touched by the sorrow they had brought to the mortal world. Night enfolded Thebes in a soothing blanket of stars, each a gentle reminder of the divine realm watching with quiet care. The wind whispered softly through the olive trees, carrying the gentle promise of peace and healing, of renewal after the harsh lesson pain can bring. As the world turns slowly towards dawn, may this tranquil moment of reflection settle softly in your mind, like a lullaby sung by the night itself, a story of pride and loss, yes, but also of grace and gentle understanding. Let the calm silence soothe away the day's worries and fears, allowing your thoughts to drift like leaves on a gentle stream beneath the silver light of the moon. Now, as you lay your head down and breathe deeply, imagine the soft flow of Niobe's tears turning into a shimmering brook, weaving quietly through a peaceful glade. Feel the cool, calming embrace of the night air, the subtle rhythm of the earth beneath you, slow and steady. With each breath, know that just as the world turns in cycles of light and dark, so too can our hearts find balance between pride and humility, sorrow and peace. Rest now, cradled in the gentle arms of night, and let the stars guard your dreams. May your sleep be deep and undisturbed, wrapped in the quiet stories of old, until the soft light of dawn gently calls you back to a new day. Good night.